What's up, Wall fans, Common Sense's social media world? Welcome to the live feed for Common Sense Sundays with Go Tell It to the Wall. I'm, of course, your favorite host, the one and only Sean O'Rourke. We are getting started a little early today. I know that's probably going to confuse some people that like to jump on to the actual live stream. My wife is going to be taking over the studio very shortly for a virtual baby shower. So I had to get in here earlier to get this done before she needed to utilize all this stuff, because that's like what we do nowadays is virtual parties, and it had to be done. So I'm in here a little earlier than usual. Fair warning before I get into the actual podcast. For some reason, last episode I was not getting the chat here on my actual screen. It's something I'm working on. We're actually working on a new camera setup. So if you're typing stuff on there and I'm not responding, it's probably because it's not showing up. Facebook is weird sometimes. That's just kind of how it is. On top of that, I'm exhausted. I'll get into a little bit of that once we actually kick off the episode. So grab a tasty beverage and get ready for episode 8 of Common Sense Sundays. All right, Wall fans, Common Sense's podcast consumers, welcome to another very exciting edition of Common Sense Sundays with Go Tell It to the Wall. I am, of course, your favorite podcast host, the one and only Sean O'Rourke, and this is episode 8. That's right, episode 8. Fair warning to everybody, I am absolutely exhausted right now. I've mentioned it on at least the last episode, maybe the one before that. My kid, my 3-year-old, is basically on a sleep strike right now, and it's one thing after another. And then on top of that, my insomnia that likes to rear its ugly head at times was doing that last night. I was up until 4 a.m., at least till 4 a.m. I saw the clock hit 4 a.m. and I don't know when I fell asleep. So I'm exhausted today. I am way too old to be seeing 4 a.m. That's not a time I usually see unless my insomnia is kicking in. So bear with me. I'm going to do my best to stay awake and bring you all of the common sense that you've become accustomed to on Sundays. Also, we are, for those of you that are subscribed and just listen to audio, this doesn't matter, but I'm actually in the studio a little bit earlier this week, and I want to take an opportunity to give a congratulations to my little big sister Juliet and her husband, my good friend Seth. Today is Juliet's baby shower, so my wife is taking over the studio after I finish here so that they can do virtual games and all this stuff, because that's what we do for parties these days, is we have them virtually to keep everyone safe. So congratulations, Seth and Juliet, and I'm going to do my best with being in here a little earlier to stay completely awake and aware, because I am absolutely exhausted. Absolutely exhausted. All right, we always kick things off with our social plugs. You can keep up with the show before episodes, after episodes, during episodes, whenever you so please, and you can do that in multiple locations. One of those would be Facebook. We are currently live on Facebook right now. Head over to facebook.com/GoTellItToTheWall. Like our page, check back there. That's going to keep you updated on new episodes, new content, all that good stuff. Of course, our YouTube channel. Head over to YouTube, search Go Tell It to the Wall, subscribe to our channel. You're going to find all kinds of great content up there. Our beer reviews, our parenting playlist, our mental health Mondays videos, and of course the live feeds for all of our actual podcast episodes live on YouTube. Also, make sure you check out Something's Not Right Studios, their channel. You're going to find Go Tell It to the Wall collaborative content with Something's Not Right Studios. Most importantly, and all-inclusive of those things I just mentioned, would be SeanO'RourkeLive.com. Bookmark that one. Check back often. You're going to find links to those things I just mentioned. You're also going to find stuff that you will not find anywhere else, such as photos, blog posts, all kind of good stuff. And our Patreon campaign. You'll find that on SeanO'RourkeLive.com. I mention it every week. If you have the means and see fit to do so, please help us out financially. I'm actually going to finish up this show and go order some new headphones for the studio because my headphones are literally falling apart. So please help us out financially, or any other artists out there that you want to support. Patreon is a great place to do that. So check that out. And of course, if you want to follow my own Instagram account, that would be SoCalSean. SoCalSean. And as I mentioned, my sleep has just been non-existent right now. I actually have content piling up, stuff that's been edited, stuff that's in the hopper just has to get posted, but I've been so exhausted, and it's crazy too, because I'm not even leaving the house, but it's just been crazy in my house. My 3-year-old has hit one of those stages where she's just, sleep is non-existent, everything is a tragedy, and we'll talk a little bit more about that when we get into parenting. But new content is coming. I know I've been promising it. It's just, I'm exhausted. I don't often see 4 a.m., and if I do, I am pretty much useless the next day. And then on top of that, I was out doing a bunch of yard work yesterday. Like, yard work's just piling up at my house. I don't even have, I've got a decent sized property, but it's all these like trees and stuff. And yesterday I found myself chopping down a couple of palm trees, smaller ones, not these gigantic palm trees, but small palm trees. And unfortunately, I'm fairly handy, but not incredibly handy. I had to use a hatchet to do this. So I am not only exhausted from sleep deprivation, but I'm just exhausted because I was chopping down trees with a hatchet. This is definitely something you should have an axe or preferably a chainsaw for. But so on top of that, I can like barely move my shoulder and arm right now. So it's a lot of fun. I guess I'm just going to spend this entire episode complaining about everything going on in my personal life. I'm not actually going to do that. That would be quite boring. I don't think anyone would enjoy that. All right, moving on to some digital trends. That's right. A couple hashtags that are floating around the social platforms right now that I am particularly enjoying. This first one, I was actually very confused by this yesterday and here's the thing. Often I chalk it up to just being a little old because I see people post these things and I'm like, I don't know what the hell you're talking about. Especially, like, I know there's been a lot of stuff coming up with comic artists and writers and stuff and things that they've done in the past, and so we're getting much like we are musicians and actors and everything else, and I see these things come out and I'm like, I don't even know who that is. So it happens quite often. This happened to me yesterday with this hashtag 18 minutes without cheese, because of course this is something we do on social platforms. But if you're not familiar with this, there was a woman in North Hollywood, actually not too far from where I live. She went on a complete ridiculous rant in Trader Joe's there in North Hollywood, apparently having to do with cheese, something for fajitas. I don't have the time or bandwidth to look at, like, there's a new ranting video from somebody every day, a new Karen video, a new someone not wanting to wear, it's every day. So I see these things come across, but I don't watch them a lot. But apparently this was spawned from her needing cheese, and as much as I don't actually watch those videos of people ranting and raving all the time, I do enjoy the fallout from it. So if you want some entertainment on your Sunday, really, or for the rest of the week, check out that hashtag 18 minutes without cheese, because people are just having fun with it, and the ridiculousness that was that woman in Trader Joe's, which it's astounding. Like, I have breathing problems, and then she goes on like a big rant yelling at everybody. Like, what breathing problems do you have? If you had breathing problems, you wouldn't be yelling. Come on now. It's ridiculous. Still the political issue. Another hashtag, and I don't want to get anyone too excited. I don't want to get myself in trouble here. Hashtag RIP Donald Trump. That's right. It's trending, but it's not trending for the reason that you would expect. It's not actually rest in peace Donald Trump. And of course, a lot of what you're going to see on the social platforms right now is people being disappointed that it wasn't actually rest in peace Donald. I mean, the hashtag is trending. And it's actually a lot to do with what he's been tweeting out recently. And one of those specific things was he tweeted out someone saying white power, a far-right protester saying white power. I guess it's since been deleted, but of course this is just the tweeter-in-chief and what we have to deal with his ineptitude on pretty much a daily basis. And of course this hashtag was spawned from that, among other things, because the guy is just not doing well. There was an interview the other day where he sounded almost resigned to not winning the next election, which I'm not going to believe it till I see it, because as you know, I was alive in 2016 and I watched those poll numbers and said, yeah, this is crazy. And sure enough, less than a week before my daughter was born, the Orange Menace was elected. It's crazy. It's crazy. All right, a couple of important hashtags and fun hashtags. Hashtag masks save lives, because they do. I'm going to talk a little bit more about masks and some stories that have been coming out when we get to COVID updates here. But this is a fantastic hashtag because it's simply true. There's no getting around it. So if you're out there wearing your mask or whatever, use that hashtag. Masks save lives. Even the ridiculously terrible former Vice President Dick Cheney is wearing masks. His daughter or somebody tweeted out a photo of him wearing a mask, and it's like, holy shit! It's become not even political anymore. Now it's just people that follow the Orange Menace, Donald Trump, versus people that have common sense. That's where we're at. Chris, I think I'm seeing your icon up there. Chris Hassan, ladies and gentlemen, our on-air producer. But for some reason, I am not. I said it at the top of the video before I got into the podcast. For some reason, I'm not getting comments on my feed here. Fortunately, as I mentioned, next week we're going to have a new setup, so I should be getting those comments. But unfortunately, I don't know that I'm actually going to be able to communicate with Chris. But maybe they'll start popping up. I don't know. I noticed that last week I went to look at the video and I was like, oh, a whole bunch of people were commenting. And it was literally like a couple of people answered questions that I gave out there. Like Paul Smith, Zombie Keith Clothing, was on there, and I asked him a specific question about Bad Cop, Bad Cop. He did respond, and I didn't see it until after the whole freaking episode. So apologies to anyone that's typing things out there. Please type them. I'll go back and look, but I'm not getting them live right now, unfortunately. We're working on a new setup. I'm doing a whole new camera. It's going to be all much, much better once I get that set up. But hashtag masks save lives. Get yourself some masks. I've got quite a few awesome masks, and I don't even leave the house. I don't really leave my property. All right, another hashtag going around right now. Odd signs you're getting older. This is one just to have fun with. I have relatives that joke like I was an old man when I was 10. In some ways, I'm still like a 12-year-old boy. It just depends on the situation. But there's kind of differences, and I go up and down, and I'm a bit of an old man when it comes to certain things. So hashtag odd signs you're getting older. One of these things that gets me, well, two things, but one of them is I see celebrity, as I mentioned before when I was talking about comic artists and stuff, I see like these things come out and I'm like, I don't even know who that celebrity is. That's a celeb. Okay. And that's definitely one of the ways that I see myself getting older is I'm like, oh, all right. Who the hell is that? I don't even know. And then on top of that, the whole kids these days thing. Now, I don't go extreme with that, I'll admit it. But I remember being a teenager, and you hear that expression like, the kids these days, what are the kids wearing these days and all that stuff. And I remember saying to myself, like, I'm never going to be like that. Wear what you want. And very much, I am still very much wear what you want. I don't care. But I have hit a point in my life, and I have for the past, 10 years, where I look and I'm like, really? All right, that's a trend where kids are, all right, that's what we're wearing now. Sure, that makes sense to me. But that's just odd signs you're getting older. Hashtag odd signs you're getting older. Because kids these days, you got to put a hashtag in front of everything. I used to be so, it took me a couple years to understand, even get into hashtags. I would see them, but I just didn't really understand it. And fortunately, I had somebody I worked with years ago at Disney that kind of explained it to me. And I went, oh okay, so it does make sense. I think people just get a little out of hand with it. Sometimes you get on Twitter, and someone will tweet 2 words. They're like, good morning, and it's 50 hashtags under that. You're like, okay, let's calm down now. You're really not relating to anything here. Now, obviously, I use them for the podcast because it does help when you're looking through things. And I actually, like Patreon and certain sites that we use for the podcast, actually track those hashtags so we can go back and look at analytics based on certain hashtags. So it does come in handy for stuff like that. It's really just the going crazy with it sometimes where you're like, all right, we get it. You got hashtags. You're trying to hashtag everybody. Hi, Paul. I see you popping up there. I'm not getting the words. This happened last week, and we need the new setup. But thank you, everyone, for joining. I just can't see that you're actually saying anything right now. All right, one more hashtag in the digital trends. Hashtag Wendy's is over party. I get this. Everyone has, and I think I mentioned this briefly on another episode, but people are still going crazy with this Wendy's stuff. And now, obviously, everyone has the right to their own opinion. Do what you want. If you want to boycott something, boycott it. But I always like to point out, make sure you're boycotting the right situation. In fact, with Wendy's, we've come to see, fact check it. It's not the CEO of Wendy's. It's not the corporate Wendy's. Now, if people want to dive deep into that and see if there is money coming from them, I'm sure you can find some money that's going to go to the Republican Party. But what everyone's been up in arms about is somebody that owns multiple Wendy's franchises that has donated money to Donald Trump. There is a difference here. Especially when it comes to franchised restaurants. We dealt with this years ago with Chick-fil-A, and everyone was boycotting Chick-fil-A, and that company you should. But keep in mind that there are franchises, and a lot of franchise owners came out and said, we don't support this. We just own a franchise. And you're going to run into the same thing with Wendy's, where you have a franchise owner who might be one of the most liberal people you'll ever meet. So do a little more research when it comes to boycotting things. Boycott it all you want, but just make sure you're boycotting for the right reasons. Make sure you're canceling things for the right reasons. And in this case, maybe there are right reasons, but the reason that everyone's glomming onto right now, new go tell to the wall word, I don't even know what that means. It's kids these days. But the reason everyone's glomming onto it right now isn't necessarily accurate to the Wendy's franchise. Certain Wendy's franchises out there. So keep that in mind. Do a little more research. I'm not here to tell you what to do. I'm just pointing out that sometimes there's a little more nuance to certain things. Now, other things, there's not. Donald Trump, there's no nuance to that. There's no nuance to the Orange Menace. That's why I'm wearing my Camacho 2020 shirt in the studio today. I mean, I guarantee Camacho would be better than the Orange Menace. Guarantee it! For those of you not familiar with it, go watch Idiocracy, or don't, because it might be a little scary right now. That's why I stopped watching Handmaid's Tale. I was like, this is getting too real. No, can't do it. Alright, COVID updates. As I mentioned, wear the damn masks. In fact, we have Paul Smith of Zombie Teeth Clothing on here. If you need masks, go on Zombie Teeth Clothing right now. Order some masks. They are fantastic. They're good masks. I've had them on the podcast. Had one of them. I got one in my pile of masks there. But they're great masks, great designs. And, have a little style. Have fun with it. That's what I don't get. Like, have fun with it. It's not a big deal. Not a political statement. But we're seeing setting records almost daily now. And it's almost like you wake up and you're like, oh, all right, nope, can't get any worse. Whoop, nope, did get worse. That's what's happening right now, and we're getting word of that pretty much every day. It was way too early, and we're seeing that now. It was way too early for everything to be opening up, to open up non-essential stuff. I'm sorry, my hair's out of hand myself. My wife, she trims the sides, shaves the sides for me. The top hasn't been cut in forever. That's why I've got a little curl mohawk going on right now. Is it that important? Is your long hair, scruffy hair, whatever it might be, is it more important than the safety of others? No, it's not. So we went way too early with this. And speaking of masks, we're actually seeing from studies the benefits of masks directly. If you're not aware, or maybe you're seeing other people post this and blaming the increases on protesters, studies have shown that the protests haven't led to increases in cases. What's leading to increases in cases is people having parties, gatherings inside, and nobody wearing masks. We're literally seeing it from contact tracing in multiple areas around the country, that is the bigger cause of outbreaks. Is these private parties, not these protests. And you know why? Because everyone at the protests are wearing masks. They're outside. The masks work. I believe I mentioned this story already before on the podcast, but there were two people that worked in a salon. I believe it was in Washington State. They both had COVID. They interacted with 140 customers in one day. Not a single one of those 140 customers came down with COVID. Because the two people that had COVID were wearing masks. Absolutely astounding to me. Just get masks. I actually had a new mask come the other day through Legion M. That's another one if you're looking for masks. Because I'm a huge Kevin Smith fan. I had to get a Kevin Smith mask. They've got some Kevin Smith masks on there if you're looking for one of those as well. Here's the thing with all this. We've known this for years, but we are definitely at that point right now. Paul, I guarantee you're seeing a lot of this because you are not in the United States. We have become the laughing stock. We already were for the past few years because of the Orange Menace, but now even more. Every single other country in the world is doing better than we are regarding COVID. And I don't want to hear people telling me, well, population stuff. China is doing better than we are regarding COVID. So there's bigger population stuff. No. That's not how it works. And then the increased testing stuff. Again, do your research on the increased testing stuff. Because yes, you could say, well, the testing is increasing, so we are seeing more cases. But what you have to look at is the numbers. You compare the increase in testing versus the growth of the testing numbers. And it's not just because more people are getting tested. It's simply not. And the rest of the world is laughing at us to the point where Europe, the European Union, is basically going to close off their borders, and nobody from the United States is going to be able to travel there for a while. Understandably so. Understandably so. Right now we are I don't even want to say right now. We've been a terrible country for a long time. Right now we are an extra terrible country, and we don't deserve to go anywhere. We've been sent to our shitty room that is the United States of America, and we're stuck here for a while. Why? Because we couldn't handle the original, not even punishment, but the original mandate. Everyone had to go crazy. People aren't wearing masks. And now we're the laughing stock, sitting in our room on a Saturday night when the rest of the world is finally starting to recover and open up. That's what you get, America. America. The land of selfishness. That's what it is. All right, let's move on to some parenting. Man, I didn't expect the COVID updates to go like that. Oh. All right. Parenting. The sleep struggle is real. Good Lord. My kid, the past few weeks. And I mentioned before it was fireworks that she's getting used to the fireworks, and I'm finding that a lot of this is just excuses. You know, it's like one thing after another. And it's, I don't want to say every night, but like last night was a little better, but the night before, up till midnight. Midnight, my 3-year-old. 3-year-old should not be up till midnight. It's just not, you shouldn't be. What are you doing? Go to sleep. But that's my world right now. I will say this, and I know Chris is on there right now. I did take solace in the fact there was a little thread going on between some parenting friends of mine and my wife, myself, on Facebook. And it was like, oh yeah, no, my kids are doing this too. So as much as I don't want other kids and other parents to be having this problem, I did take a little bit of solace in the fact that it's not just my household. So thank you to everyone out there that commented on that thread and made me feel like a little less horrible of a parent, because I'm not the only one dealing with this kid and excuse after excuse for not wanting to go to bed. And then of course my insomnia on top of this. It's like, oh my gosh. But I will say, the difficulty is feeling like a failure here. And I know other parents will feel this. Like I said, I'm taking solace in other parents feeling this way. The difficulty really lies in feeling like a failure. Maybe not a complete failure, but feeling like you're not doing the best you can. And my wife was actually on like a quick call with some parenting experts. They were talking about sleep training. Coincidentally, this came up like right as we're dealing with sleep issues for my kid. And I found this interesting, and you kind of know this, but I want to bring this up for everyone out there, especially parents, but really everyone out there, because it can be tough when they're looking for excuses and they're making a fuss just because they want to stall or they don't want to go to bed, whatever it might be. It might be tough for you, and you might feel like not that you're abandoning your kid, but that you're leaving them to kind of deal with this. And this parenting thing that my wife had gone to, and she relayed this to me, pointed out, think of all the other thousands of times that you've comforted your kid because they actually were hurt, they really were upset, whatever it might have been, and don't focus on the one time where you have to be like, no, it's time to go to bed, and then your kid fusses about it. And this is something I think we all know as parents, but we also need to be reminded of this. So to me, when my wife relayed that to me from her little, video call that she did with some parents, she's in a like mom's group here in the LA area. And just hearing it. Back of your mind, you know it, but you hear it and you're reminded of it, and it helps you to feel a little bit better. It does. So keep that in mind, all of you parents out there. Really, and even non-parents. It's tough, but you got to focus on the good stuff. When the bad stuff is happening. Now, obviously, there's a line on the bad stuff. There is definitely a line you don't want to, cross. But focus on the good stuff. You're going to have tough times. Try not to yell at your kids, but occasionally you're going to have to. Don't start throwing 4-letter words at them, but sometimes you have to be stern with your kids. And that's okay. Absolutely okay. And I'm sure other parents can attest to that as well. They might be commenting right now, but as I said, I'm not getting my comments on my feed here, so apologies. I will go back and respond to anyone on there after the fact, but it's going to be better once we get everything a little upgraded here in the studio. All right, I want to talk a little bit about mental health. One thing very important, so simple, but very important. This came up, I was actually having a conversation with a friend the other day, and I said, how you doing? And they said, I said, how you doing today? And they said, I'm really just doing today. Wasn't doing bad, wasn't doing good. And I said to him, I said, sometimes that's okay. It's okay to be just doing. In fact, for those of us that deal with mental illness, you know that it can be tough at times, but you also kind of know that it can get a little worse when it comes to your own mental health and your own mental illness. And this made me want to talk about it because it's something to really keep in mind and not beat yourself up about. Sometimes you're going to have those days where you're just getting by. It's maybe not a rough day where you need to experience some self-care. You need to really work to get out of that. But don't beat yourself up for just getting through it. I don't mean in a negative way. What I mean is, not everyone wakes up in the morning feeling great. Even people that don't suffer from a mental illness, they don't always wake up and feel great in the morning. And that's okay. You don't have to greet the day like some Disney princess every day. You don't. It's a process. It's hard work to get to those points. And you're not going to be able to do it every day. So when it comes to your mental health, remember, sometimes just doing is okay. And maybe the next day, you try just doing a little more. Whatever it might be. It's a long process. It's a never-ending process. And all you can do is little steps like that on a daily basis. We'll probably talk a little bit more of that on the next Mental Health Monday as well. There's a couple things I want to talk about on the upcoming Mental Health Monday, so look out for those on the YouTube channel. Go Tell Us to the Wall on YouTube. All right, I've got some entertainment stuff. We got a few minutes left, and then I have to relinquish the studio to my wife so she can come in here and do a bunch of games and stuff for a virtual baby shower. In fact, I know Bridget is also attending that baby shower. I have a feeling either Bridget is watching with Chris right now, or she is also working on shower stuff, because I know she and my wife were working on baby shower stuff the past week or so. All right, some entertainment updates. We talked about this one last episode or the one before. Splash Mountain redesign. It's now official. Disney is redesigning Splash Mountain. I had mentioned the petition over the past couple episodes and how I was in support of it and pointing out that anyone getting upset about changing a traditional thing, it's like, calm down. It's been like, I am older than Splash Mountain, literally, and I'm not that old. I'm older than Splash Mountain. I mean, it's crazy. So keep that in mind. It does look like it was planned for a little while. So the petition, it's great to get those things out. I've always said, voices for change. These things are important, but it looks like Disney was on top of this. One of the things, I mean, as much as I talk about Disney being greedy and everything, they do know what they're doing. And it looks like it is going to be transformed into a Princess and the Frog themed ride. For anyone out there, I guarantee, I haven't looked into this in depth. My wife, I know, knows more of it because she works in that industry. But they're not going to change the ride. You're still going to be on a log and you're going through. It's just the scenery is going to change. We're not going to see these racist characters from Song of the South anymore. So that's a great thing. And they're going to have plenty of time to do it because Disneyland opening has been delayed indefinitely, thankfully. They were looking to open July 17th. I had talked about the union members who were fighting against Disneyland and the reopening because they didn't want to go back to work. They didn't feel it was safe. And it looks like, I want to say it looks like their voices were heard, but I'm also getting word that there was some pressure from the governor of California, Gavin Newsom, to keep Disneyland closed. Then, of course, on the other side, Disney World is still planning to open like July 11th. They had an opening date even earlier than Disneyland. And the crazy thing is, I saw this yesterday as I was scrolling through some news. And so the union leaders here for Disneyland, the workers for Disneyland, were fighting against the reopening. Apparently, the union president for the Disney World Union was out doing a tour of Disney World and is in full support of the reopening. So it looks like that's going to happen. And of course, we're going to see even more numbers increasing in Florida, because that's absolutely what Florida needs right now, is just more people gathering together without masks and being idiots and then spreading more of the virus. It's just common sense is astounding to me. All right, oh man. All right, I'm going to get through this, and then we're going to call it a show. If you're not familiar with this, some sitcoms are getting edited recently, as they should. Notably, 30 Rock, The Office, Community, and others have had either episodes removed from digital platforms, and oh my gosh, I'm blanking on the syndication. I was going to say synchronization. No, it's syndication. Good thing I worked in television for most of my career. They're removed from syndication because, mainly because of blackface in certain episodes. 30 Rock had a few episodes that had to be removed. And in fact, I noticed this before it became a big thing a few weeks ago, because I was rewatching 30 Rock. I never really watched it, and it's just one of those background shows been thrown on. I had rewatched Parks and Rec and The Office over the whole quarantine thing, and while my kid's napping. And I was going through, and I was like, and it went like episode of a certain season, 1, 2, 4, and I went, there's one missing there. And sure enough, my wife and I looked it up, and it was one of the episodes. It was the episode where actually Jane Krakowski, she dressed up in blackface, and Tracy Morgan dressed up as a white woman. It was a whole thing. Go look it up if you want. That getting tangented here, not the point I'm trying to make. The point is that they're catching up with these things, rightfully so. Because here's the thing. I was actually just saying this to my wife this morning. There's no excuse for blackface. I learned blackface was bad when I was about 10 years old. 10. It's not that people can say, oh, well, you went to film school and you worked in television and radio and film. No. I learned at 10. Late 80s. That's when I learned blackface was a terrible thing to do. So we can't keep making excuses for writers and producers and everything else. There is a fine line. Again, I'm not going to get into details. If you go look at the Community episode that's been removed, needed to be removed, but I could see where that was a little bit different, because it was blackface, but it wasn't like the 30 Rock stuff. I mean, where it's, no, that's literally blackface. It's very nuanced, and they need to be removed anyway. But I'm tired of writers and producers and everyone making excuses. Jimmy Kimmel and all these people making excuses. It's never been right. I might take that excuse from some teenager that maybe doesn't know any better, but if you've worked in television, you've written for television, you've acted on television, you know blackface is not right. There's never a time for it. There's never an excuse for it. I'm getting really tired of the excuses from everybody. And it's not only television. It's finally come to pass on a lot of influencers. We've seen over the past week, influencers are being called out. And this one, a couple of crazy ones. I'm not a big, I don't follow YouTube much, but because I work in marketing for entertainment, I am aware of certain things, and obviously we have a YouTube channel. We don't put a lot of effort into the YouTube channel. We're more of a podcast and entertainment entity when it comes to that kind of stuff, as opposed to YouTubing. It's further branding for us. But Jenna Marbles, who is basically one of the original YouTubers, she has quit her channel on YouTube, because she was called out for literally doing blackface years ago. Doing it. Again, you should know better. The other crazy one, and there's plenty of influencers kind of getting the boot here, as they should. And there's actually another one who I'm not even familiar with, but Shane Dawson, who's a YouTuber, he's being called out now. Apparently, he also had done some blackface and some racist things over the years. But there's a crazy one that came out, yesterday, which is apparently, and if kids are around, my apologies, it's apparently him pretending to masturbate to a poster of Willow Smith. Willow Smith is Jada and Will Smith's daughter. Whip my hair back and forth. If you're not familiar with it, I'm familiar with it because I worked at Radio Disney when it was happening. So she was 11 years old at the time that he was pretending to masturbate to this poster of her. She's 19 now. So I had to do a little math in my head, and I went, good God, because this poster was a Radio Disney poster, to the point that I saw part of the video. I didn't watch the whole video, but somebody had posted like a GIF of the video, so it was like 2 seconds, without giving views to the kid or anything. And I realized, that's a Radio Disney poster. And then when I did the math, and I figured, because I was like, was that just up old thing, or was it right after I left? Nope. It was 8 years ago, right in the middle of me being at Radio Disney and Disney Channel. And in fact, a good friend of mine literally designed that thing. And the reason I bring that up is we are getting better. This was 8 years ago, and nobody was saying much about it. 8 years ago. And now he's getting called out on it. And I think based on things like that, we are seeing some advancement as a society. Now all we got to do is get rid of the Paul brothers on YouTube. Make room for people that have good content that isn't offensive, and they're not out there just shock value and all that other stuff. We don't need any more of that. I would really love to see both the Paul brothers just completely canceled. And I will be honest with everyone out there. If you've been a fan of Go Tell It to the Wall, you're not gonna find things like blackface buried anywhere. That's just not, those things aren't gonna come up. So you can feel safe. You should never admire, actors and performers too much anyway. But there are some out there. There are good ones out there. You just gotta find them and stop giving views and clicks and money to people like the Paul brothers or Jenna Marbles. Or the thing with Jenna Marbles is she never really was in controversy until this came out. Shane Dawson clearly that guy's got some issues, like clearly serious issues, and these people should not be able to put out content, or they should be vilified for the content they're putting out if it's completely inappropriate in that way. All right, we are over time. I need to clear out this studio so my wife can get in here and have shower games and stuff for Juliet, my little big sister. But I will say one more thing before we go. Sports are coming back. Baseball is coming back. Looks like basketball is coming back. Hockey is going to be not far behind. So for those of you that are sports fans, we are going to have at least a little bit of events to look forward to. I'm just so tired all the time that I'm a big baseball fan. I enjoy baseball and I enjoy hockey. And I'm like, I don't have it in me. Although I will say, if the Bruins somehow get to hoist a cup this year, then I will be enjoying that. All right, on that note, thank you to everyone that was joining in on the live feed. I guarantee there was at least one comment on there, especially with Chris being on there. I'll go back and look at those. We are working on a new setup, like I said, for those of you on the live feed. So please bear with me as we do some upgrades there. Don't forget, you can follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/Go Tell It to the Wall. Also on YouTube, head over to YouTube, search Go Tell It to the Wall, subscribe to Go Tell It to the Wall. Also subscribe to Something's Not Right Studios, lots of collaborative stuff. Go Tell It to the Wall content also on Something's Not Right Studios. And of course, SeanO'RourkeLive.com. Please bookmark that and help us out on Patreon if you can. And have the means to do so. Please, please, please support us and support other artists out there that are giving you content for free. This podcast is free. The YouTube channel is free. You can access Sean O'Rourke Live for free. There is some exclusive content on Patreon if you do become a patron, but everything else is completely free. It's what I do. Just throw it out there, and few people listen to it. Some people hate it. Some people like it. Such is the life of a digital content producer. Not an influencer, digital content producer. All right, on that note, this has been episode 8 of Common Sense Sundays with Go Tell It to the Wall and me, your favorite podcast host, the one and only Sean O'Rourke. We will be back next week, same wall place, same wall time, not quite as early because unless something else comes up and there's another baby shower, which I don't know, might actually happen. Who knows? So I'll keep everyone updated on actual times for the live feed, and we will have that upgraded very, very, very soon. We will see you next episode. And don't forget, wall fans, common sensors, podcast consumers, no matter what you do, no matter who you're with, no matter where you go, and especially no matter why you are doing it, always, always use common sense. And wear a goddamn mask. All right, everyone, thanks. I will go back and check. I'm sure there was some stuff in there We'll have that upgraded. It's just been kind of, I don't know what is going on with Facebook. This is a new thing. Updates come through. So I've just got to work on a new setup and troubleshoot a little bit. We will get it better. I'll also get my hair a little bit. I don't know. This is like this weird, I've got like a wave going on in the front of my hair. I'm definitely in need of a haircut. I'm going to buy some scissors and let my wife just kind of chop at it. It'll be fun. So thank you all for joining. I'm tired. I think I'm going to finish this up, go take a nap. So until next time, wall fans, common sensors, social media world, if you've got any complaints at all, go tell them to a wall.